You know when you see a perfectly plated meal and you almost don't want to eat it because it looks so good? Well, that's not an accident. The chef is actually using the exact same rules that make a painting beautiful or a building just breathtaking. So today, we're going to open up the designer's cookbook. We're going to dive into the basic ingredients, the secret recipes, and even the psychology that makes a visual dish just, well, absolutely delicious.
You know that feeling, right? You look at a design and there's just this sense of effortless balance and order. It just works. Well, it's not magic and it's definitely not some happy accident, even though it can feel that way. It's actually the result of a very deliberate and surprisingly simple visual recipe.
A misquote, this is basically the secret sauce. It's the core idea behind something called Gestalt psychology, which, is really just a fancy way of saying our brains are wired to see the big picture first. It's not about the individual notes in a song, it's about the melody. It's not about the single brushstrokes, it's about the whole painting.
Okay, so to become a master chef of design, you first got to know your ingredients. Every single visual masterpiece, from the logo on your phone to the architecture of a massive cathedral, is made from the same handful of basic elements. So let's stock our spice rack with the fundamental flavors of visual design. Once you know these, I promise you'll be able to cook up some truly stunning compositions. Every great meal starts with a single grain of salt, right? And every great design starts right here, with a point. Just think of it as a single pixel on your screen, or one star in the night sky. It might seem insignificant, but this humble little point is the seed from which all visual creation grows. This is our first and most essential ingredient.
Now, if you take that single point and just drag it through space, boom, you create a line. A line is kind of like a river, carving its way through the landscape of your design, and it guides the viewer's eye on a little journey. It can be thick, it could be thin, straight or curved, smooth or jagged, and every single variation adds a completely different flavor. But lines don't just point the way. They have a whole language of their own.
And what a language it is. A vertical line, for instance, can create a feeling of strength and stability, like a towering skyscraper. A horizontal line, on the other hand, often feels peaceful and calm, like the horizon at sunset. And a diagonal line, that's like that one friend who's always full of energy. It just adds this dash of chaos and excitement to the party. But hey, don't just take my word for it. Try drawing a few lines yourself and see what feelings they stir up.
So when a line loops all the way around and connects with itself, it cooks up our next ingredient, shape. Think about the difference between a perfectly round pizza and, say, a blub of melted cheese on top of it. I mean, both are shapes, but one is predictable and geometric, while the other is all free-flowing and organic. The Nike swoosh is a great example. It's just one simple, organic shape, but it tells a whole story of movement and speed. But why stay flat? If a shape is just a flat drawing of a pizza, then form is a sculpture of it that you can actually walk around and admire from all sides. It's the difference between a photograph of an apple and the real thing. You can almost feel its weight in your hand. Form is what takes our recipe from a simple sketch and brings it into the third dimension.
All right, now for the ingredient that makes a design feel real, texture. It's what our eyes feel. Think about the smooth, cool surface of polished marble, or the rough, warm texture of a wool sweater, maybe the bumpy skin of an orange. Texture is the secret ingredient that literally makes you want to reach out and touch a design, making the whole thing a multi-sensory experience.
And finally, our most potent, most emotionally powerful ingredient of all, color. Red can make us feel passionate and excited. Blue can bring a sense of calm and trust. I once painted a tiny room a deep forest green, and it instantly became the coziest, most relaxing spot in the whole house. So seriously, go ahead, play with color. Break the rules. See what incredible emotional flavors you can create. Okay, so our creative pantry is fully stocked, but a pile of beautiful ingredients doesn't make a meal, does it? We need a recipe to show us how to combine them in a way that's both delicious and beautiful. These are the principles of design, and they are the secret to creating compositions that don't just look good, but feel right. First up, we've got balance. Symmetrical balance creates this sense of order and formality, kind of like a perfectly manicured garden. But you don't have to pick just one. Think about the Eiffel Tower. From the front, it's perfectly symmetrical, and that conveys this incredible grandeur. But as you walk around it, you discover all these interesting asymmetrical details that make it feel so dynamic and alive. You can really play with that tension. Next, every great composition needs a beat. Rhythm is like the drum beat that sets the pace of your design. Think of the way the stripes on a zebra's back create this sense of movement and flow, even when the zebra is just standing still.
That repetition is what guides the eye and makes the whole composition feel connected and alive.
So where do you want people to look first? That's emphasis. It's basically a spotlight that shines on the most important part of your design and screams, "Hey, look at me." You can create this focal point with a pop of bold color, maybe by making one element way bigger than the others, or by just isolating it in a sea of empty space. You get to be the director, telling the viewer's eye exactly where the story begins.
All right, take a look at this number. I know, it might not look like much, but this could be the single most important secret ingredient we talk about today. For centuries, literally centuries, artists have been using this precise ratio to create compositions that just feel inexplicably beautiful. So any guesses what it represents?
It's called the golden ratio, and there's a good reason we find these proportions so pleasing. They're kind of hardwired into our sense of natural harmony. We see it in the spiral of a nautilus shell, the petals of a flower, even in the proportions of the human face. It's basically nature's own recipe for beauty, and designers have been borrowing it for everything from the Parthenon to the Twitter logo.
So we have the what, our ingredients, and the how, our recipes. But now let's get into the why. Why do these recipes work so darn well? For that, we need to take a little peek inside the black box of the human brain and see how it instinctively interprets the visual world. You might be surprised to find out that what you see isn't always what's really there. Our brains are like these little tidiness robots, you know? They're constantly trying to organize chaos. So they use shortcuts. If a bunch of things are close together, the brain goes, okay, that's a group. That's proximity. If a bunch of things look the same color, same shape, the brain says, right, you guys are a team too. That's similarity. It all happens instantly, without you even thinking about it. Okay, time for a little experiment. Look at this slide. What shape do you see? Don't overthink it. Just your first impression. If you're like most people, you probably see a square. But is it really a square? Or is your amazing brain just helping you out? What you just experienced is called closure. There's this deep sense of satisfaction that comes from solving a puzzle. And that's exactly what your brain is doing here. It sees the gaps and automatically fills them in, connecting the dots to create a whole image. It's the same reason you can see that arrow hidden in the FedEx logo without it actually being drawn. Your brain does the final step of the work for you. Finally, your brain is like a bouncer at a club, constantly deciding who's the star of the show, that's the figure, and who's just part of the scenery, the ground. This happens so incredibly fast. It's how you can pick out a friend's face in a huge crowd or read the words on this screen. And when designers cleverly play with that distinction, that's when you get those mind-bending optical illusions where you can see two things at once. Now that we've kind of mastered the art of our 2D recipes, let's add another dimension. It's time to level up our skills. This is where things get really interesting, so buckle up and get ready to step into the world of 3D composition. This is the advanced course for all our visual chefs out there. So when we start combining solid forms, the way they relate to each other creates a totally different feeling. You've got spatial tension, where two forms are super close but not actually touching. That can create this sense of anticipation or maybe even a little unease. Face-to-face contact feels stable, solid. But interlocking, that's where forms actually merge into one another. And that creates this powerful sense of unity and strength, a completely new, complex object. It's pretty incredible when you think about it. So we've stocked the pantry, we've learned the recipes, and we've uncovered the psychology that makes it all taste so good. The principles of design aren't just for artists in a studio. They are the fundamental code of the entire visual world. The world is your canvas. So the real question isn't just what you will see. It's now that you have the tools, what are you going to create?